Yashodanandana Prajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajanarandana Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Rama Kunjavihari Jaya Rama Kunjavihari Jaya Gopi Janavara Kivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavara Kivaradari Yashodanandana Prajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajanarandana Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Rama Kunjavihari Jaya Rama Kunjavihari Jaya Gopi Janavara Giridharadari Yashodanandana Prajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajanarandana Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 so perfect that Srimad His Divine Grace. Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. I am Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Acharya Sotara Srimad His Divine Loving Grace. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki. Namsika Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Navadvita Nande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Ajnanatamrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Uttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopaka Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavani Ishwari Visubhanu Sute Devi Paramami Hari Priye Namaste Girirajaya Shri Govardhana Namane Nashesha Kleshana Shaya Paramananda Daine Vancha Kapatarabhyascha Om Namo Bhagavate Va Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devyam Saraswatim Vyasam Dojayam Mudiraya Nastapreshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class, by which we cross the ocean of material suffering. The true mercy. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, Text number 70. Namameti bhavoyam Purushe vyavadiyate Yavad bhuri manoksharta Guna vyuho yanadiman Namameti bhavoyam Purushe vyavadiyate Yavad bhuri manoksharta Guna vyuho yanadiman Namameti bhavoyam Purushe vyavadiyate Yavad bhuri manoksharta Guna vyuho yanadiman Namameti bhavoyam Purushe vyavadiyate Yavad bhuri manoksharta Guna vyuho yanadiman Namameti bhavoyam Purushe vyavadiyate Yavad bhuri manoksharta Guna vyuho yanadiman Namameti bhavoyam Purushe vyavadiyate Yavad bhuri manoksharta Guno Vyuho Hyanadinam. Synonyms: Nam, Nat, Aham, I, Mama, mine, Iti, thus, Bhavaha, consciousness, I am, this, Purushe, in the living entity, Vyavadiyate, is separated, Yavat, so long, Buddhi, intelligence, Manaha, mind, Aksha, senses, Artha, sense objects, Guna, of material qualities, Vyuha, a manifestation, He, certainly, Anadiman, the subtle body, existing since time immemorial. Translation: as long as there exists the subtle material body composed of intelligence, mind, senses, sense objects, and the reactions of the material qualities, the consciousness of false identification and its relative objective, the gross body, exists as well. Purport: the desires in the subtle body of mind, intelligence, and ego cannot be fulfilled without a gross body composed of material elements: earth, water, air, fire, and ether. When the gross material body is not manifest, the living entity cannot factually act in the modes of material nature. In this verse, it is clearly explained that the subtle activities of the mind and intelligence continue due to the sufferings and enjoyments of the living entity's subtle body. The consciousness of material identification, such as I and mine, still continues because such consciousness has been extant from the time immemorial. However, when one transfers the spirit to the spiritual world by the virtue of understanding Krishna consciousness, the actions and reactions of both gross and subtle bodies no longer bother the spirit soul. Importance here. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shandivadi Pastatadishtadine Namaste Jivananda Dasa Yavanachanide Prabhupada Vallabhaya Sningasalavana Agyana Dvanta Gamanam Pashtachapatitatmanam Jnana Guru Teyachita Harine Chakshashe Namaha. So here we are. Who's speaking here? Nada Muni speaking to King Pratini. And now we're speaking about the significance of the subtle body. We've been speaking about this for quite a few days now. Why is it important to understand the subtle body? Yes. Yes. So many people don't understand the subtle body. It's a very misunderstood concept in the world today. And so many people take subtle body experiences as spiritual experiences. So understanding the subtle body is quintessential in understanding the difference between matter and spirit, which is the basis of realization in spiritual life. First, one must be able to discern what is matter, what is material, and what is spirit. It's very important to understand. So people, they do some type of experience, they chant some mantras, they take some type of psychedelic intoxicant, and then they have some type of subtle body shift that takes place. And they take this as spiritual. But this is not spiritual. If I leave my body, I astral project, go into a different dimension. Is this spiritual or is this another form of material life? So on the earth planet, our bodies are made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. But predominantly our material body is made of water. It's 78% water. So there are various combinations of these 8 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And bodies or consciousness that inhabit those bodies on different planets in different combinations and permutations of these different subtle and gross elements. For instance, for a living entity to take birth on the sun, that body is predominantly made of fire. When we say there's no life on the sun as we know it, there's no organic life, meaning that there's carbon-based life forms. But how could we say there's no consciousness? Even science agrees that all of the elements that create consciousness and all of the energy within this solar system comes from the sun, yet the sun is not conscious. This is a very, very primitive, idiotic conclusion. The sun is conscious. It's just an intelligence and a body, a system of working that is beyond what we understand is life. But still, there is consciousness, and there are the symptoms of life there. So it's very important to understand what is the subtle body and what is the material body, so that we can understand what is the spiritual body as well. So we have to have understand matter and spirit. And so the basis of understanding matter and spirit, the first indication Krishna gives as to what is matter and what is spirit, he says, Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata, ubarayati dvrstonyas tvanyos tatvadarshibhi. Krishna explains in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 17 or 15. Actually 16, text 16. He says that which is eternal, the immortal spirit soul, does not change, and that which is temporary has no endurance. So we understand that the mental conceptions of the material world, they have no endurance. We can see that because all of the various ideas that people have, they have no endurance. That's why fashion is always changing. People's philosophies are always changing. Even mundane religions are always changing. They have no endurance. So we don't want to be absorbed in that which is asat, that which is temporary. Rather, we should be absorbed in that which is sat, that which is eternal. So by understanding that the mind is also a subtle element and that we're not this mind, it allows us to discern between what is an actual material experience and what is an actual spiritual experience. For instance, many people have dreams, and they think that because I can dream, or I lucid dream, I astral project, so many different concepts people have, that these concepts and these situations are spiritual by nature, but they're not. They're subtle. You can do a lot of things to the subtle body at the end. And so depression and these types of things are subtle body sicknesses, sicknesses of the mind, but they're not innately spiritual. So we should come to the spiritual platform. Because by understanding what is matter and what is spirit, one develops real knowledge or realization. Or what is real knowledge? What does it mean to have jnana, to have genuine knowledge? Yeah. If you understand perfectly well that I'm not this body in perfection, then you understand what is matter and what is spirit. And Prabhupada brings this point out in the purport that we're overcoming this false conception of I and mine, which is our big major enemy here. This is my space, and I am this body, and this is mine. So if we're caught up in false ego, we're always thinking very, very miserly. Correct? We're getting offended over very stupid things. And in this way, we make aparads to Vaishnavas by mistreating Vaishnavas. And the false ego then rationalizes, well, they weren't doing what I wanted them to do the way I wanted them to do it. Therefore, I have the consciousness that I can have a negative attitude toward that Vaishnava. And thus, who gets the reactions? You keep continuously, you will lose taste for your bhakti yoga, you will lose taste for the lotus feet of the spiritual master, you will lose taste for the consciousness of loving Krishna. And in this way, you'll go back down into the material energy. So therefore, when one with very much determination situates themselves on the spiritual platform by endeavoring to serve Krishna and chant his holy names, then one can easily overcome this conception of being this body and overcoming this I and mine. This is mine. This is mine. Mine. Finding Nemo. Millennial joke, huh? So, or Sufi saying mine. That's his way of saying mine. So, in this way, he's like that too. I was cleaning the bird cage, and I put him in the other side of the bird cage so that I can clean out everything, because he just bothers me. And I was feeding all the birds, and he was seeing that all the peacocks and the pheasants were enjoying their prasadam without being harassed by Sufi, and he was, he was getting very, very angry watching this happen, because that's his. It's his cage, and that's my food. So sometimes you can learn a lot just by watching nature. Sometimes you see the peacock, and you see the male peacock, he's feeling lusty. He's, by peacock years, probably in his late 80s. And so he goes up to the female peacock, and he, does his fan, he shows his feathers like that. And I was thinking one day, wow, he thinks he's this body. And he thinks I am this peacock, and I am so beautiful with my beautiful feathers and fan. And therefore this body will become attracted to me because I'm this body. So see how this consciousness of material energy is pervading everything. So if we can overcome this I and mine, then we can actually come to the stage of truly understanding what is matter and spirit. And so Krishna discusses this very extensively in the Bhagavad Gita. What is the soul and what is not the soul? And Krishna comes to a conclusion that the only way you can understand and be genuinely a realized soul, genuinely a spiritual person, is if you surrender to him. This is the process for genuinely understanding what is matter and what is spirit. Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante gyanavan mam prapadyate vasudevam sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. And after many, many births and deaths, Bahunam janmanam ante, Gyanavan, one whose, van means to possess, right? Gyanavan, the one who's possessing knowledge, one who's possessing genuine spiritual knowledge, mam prapadyate, he surrenders unto me. So anybody who genuinely understands they're not this body, they can understand that I should surrender to Krishna. Mam prapadyate. Why? Because they realize this simple fact. Vasudeva, and it is a simple fact. Vasudevam sarvamiti. That there is nothing in this world but Vasudeva. There's nothing but Krishna. Krishna, you're my everything. Vasudevam sarvamiti. Samahatma sudurlabha. Such a soul is very rare, but it doesn't have to be rare. I was hearing yesterday, I found this playlist of Radhanath Swami's old lectures, so many old lectures from the 80s and 90s by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and he was telling one pastime, one story of how Hayagriva Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's first disciple, was there in New Vrindavan and was leaving his body. He had got cancer, and he was leaving, and Hayagriva had an up and down relationship with Krishna consciousness. He struggled, at various times with his senses and with his mind. And Radhanath Maharaj went to see him, and he was, of course, he was on his deathbed. He couldn't walk, he couldn't move. And Radhanath Maharaj was expressing how deeply Krishna conscious he was and how intense the mercy of Srila Prabhupada is. And he had told Radhanath Swami, he said, I used to think that I was going to be a big devotee. I was the first person to meet Srila Prabhupada and to try to help Prabhupada. And I did so much service in the beginning. And, I guess he took sannyas probably from Kirtanananda at some point. So now I'm, thinking I'm a sannyasi. And he began to explain his, what he thinks he was. And he realized, now look at me, I can't even walk. I can't even go to the bathroom on my own. I have nothing at all. I can't even think straight. The only thing I have is Krishna. The only thing I have is Krishna. He is expressing that. I have nothing but Krishna. And then he was smiling, and he told Radhanath Swami, he said, do you think Krishna is God? Really? Do you believe that? And he said, Radhanath Swami was kind of silent. He said, if Krishna is not God, that means Srila Prabhupada was a liar. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was a liar. All of the great sages and acharyas, Narada Muni, and all the various acharyas, the Madhvacharya, they're all liars. So do you think that's possible? And Haguru said, no, that's not possible. Krishna is God, and all I have is Krishna. And he was very blissful. And he said, and just see that Prabhupada, I was so unloyal to Prabhupada, but here I am with nothing but Krishna. And so Prabhupada is so merciful to me. So one who can realize this truth that there's nothing but Krishna, Vasudevam Sarvamiti, that all I have is Krishna. Such a person is a genuinely realized spiritual being. Because it's one thing to understand that the soul is not matter. This is the way of the Upanishads and the Vedas. They define spiritual subject matters like God and the soul by negative definitions, what they are not. What is the soul? The soul is not matter. Najayate muyate vakarachin nayam bhutva bhavita vanabhuyaha ajonitya shashvato yamparano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Krishna explains that, he does not come into being, will not come into being, has not come into being. He's eternal, everlasting, primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So these are all definitions of what the soul is not. But what is the soul? You can understand that the soul is not this body, that the soul does not change, that the soul is not affected by, fire, moistened by water, withered by the wind. You can understand these things about the soul, but that doesn't give you a definition as to what the soul is. So these are only things that are helping us get closer to the soul, this jnana. You can say, I'm not this body. Some people chant this mantra. I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. So you can understand that I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. But what is the soul? Yes, Mamaivam Sho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Manashtashtash Indriyani Prakriti Stani Karshati. The soul is an eternal fragment of Krishna and is struggling with the six senses in the mind in this material world. And what is the occupation of the soul? Jivara Sarup Yahoy Krishna Nitya Das, or Chaitanya says, that the constitutional position of the soul is that he's a servant of God, he's a servant of Krishna. And so only in acting from that constitutional position as a soul does one fully realize themselves as a spiritual being and transcend the material energy. So therefore, Mamaivam Shono. Mamcha Yogya Bicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samatit Yaitan Brahmabhuya Yakalpate. One who engages in constant devotional service, not falling down under any circumstances. Such a person transcends the modes of material nature and attains the level of Brahman. He realizes himself as Brahman. Furthermore, even if one tries to develop jnana, they try to really understand that I'm not this body by thinking about it, meditating on it, learning about it, how I'm not this body, I'm the soul. Like it said, after many births of doing that, you'll realize Krishna is the absolute truth. And Krishna, of course, explains that one who is on that platform, Brahmabhuta Prasanatma, a fully joyful, realized soul who knows he's not this body, who realizes himself as spirit, Nasochati Nakanchati, who no longer has desire, who no longer has lamentation. Such a person develops pure love for God, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. He becomes a bhakti yogi. So anybody who is really on the spiritual path, genuinely trying to realize themselves as spiritual, they have to surrender to Krishna. They have to surrender to Krishna. This is the last chapter of your time in the material world, or you're approaching it. If it is not your last chapter, then you're approaching the last chapter, because Krishna is the last word in knowledge, as Srila Prabhupada says. There's so many things to understand. Srimad Bhagavatam has 10 topics. Creation, subcreation, the protection of the Lord, Atra Sargo Visargascha, Stanam, all the planetary systems in the cosmos, Poshan on the Lord's protection, Uttayaha, why do you do what you do? It's part of spiritual understanding to understand why people act the way they act. Manvantarisha Anukata, who are the demigods, who are the Manus? Isha Anukata, what is the science of God? How is the universe destroyed? How is this body destroyed? How does the soul go back to Godhead? What is actual liberation, mukti? And ultimately, what is ashraya? What is the supreme shelter of this cosmic manifestation and of the living entity? Who is your supreme shelter? That is described exclusively in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you read the Bhagavatam consecutively and a lot, you read first canto, second canto, third canto, fourth canto, you learn so many different things about this cosmic creation. And then you get to the 10th canto and you realize, ashraya, you realize that this is something so extraordinarily high that you can dance with God in the spiritual world. And you can love God in such an intimate way. And you hear about Krishna in so many forms. You hear about Lord Nrsingadev and Lord Brahadev and Lord Matsyadev and Prashini Garbha. You hear about the Lord in so many ways. You hear about Gajendra. And you hear about Dattatreya. And so many incarnations of God. Lord Kapila, Rishabdev. You hear all about these forms of the Lord. And then you get to Krishna. Then you get to Krishna, and then you see why Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. Because it's one thing to understand God. We can understand Mahavishnu and his greatness, Lord Narayan and his greatness. But to understand Krishna is a different thing. Because Krishna is attained by love. Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavanyaschasmi tatvataha. Tatamam tatvidi katas vishate tadanantaram. Butchered that one. Let's butcher that middle line. Vishate tadanantaram. If you understand bhakti yoga and you perform it, then you can enter into the kingdom of God at the time of death. Vishate tadanantaram. You'll enter into the kingdom of God. And you'll understand that Krishna is the supreme shelter. He's the supreme lover, supreme friend. And that we have a very intimate relationship with Krishna, more intimate than any relationship we have in this world with mom, dad, wife, husband, girlfriend, child. A more intimate relationship. So Krishna focuses on this, and this point that you can develop knowledge, you can develop awareness that you're not this body, but it is not pure devotional service. It's not going to take you into this beautiful picture here. Krishna says that there are 4 types of pious people who surrender unto me. There's the one in distress. There's he who's seeking wealth. He who is curious. And he who is seeking knowledge of the absolute. So all of these types of pious people approach Krishna. And they ask him for help. Krishna, help me, I'm distressed. Krishna, help me, I need money. Krishna, I'm curious to know. And Krishna, I want knowledge, I want to understand the truth. And Krishna says, of those, the best is the jnani. Of these 4 types of people who approach me, the best is the jnani. He who's in search of knowledge of the absolute truth. Krishna says so much as to say that I consider such a person who is seeking the absolute truth and taking shelter of devotional service to be greater than my own self, to be like my own self, not different from me. But still, such a person is not considered a pure devotee. Why? They're interested in Krishna for knowledge. They're interested in Krishna to know what is God and to know so many things. And so Krishna continues to explain. Then he says, Bahunam Janmanamante, that after many, many births of such knowledge, practicing Krishna consciousness, one surrenders to me fully out of love. And how does that process happen? One meets a pure devotee of the Lord. one who meets a pure devotee of the Lord, then upon meeting a pure devotee who is in love with Krishna, if you're smart enough to take advantage of such a situation, then you can enter into Goloka Vrindavan. Because Radharani is not thinking about Krishna's potencies and how Krishna is creating the universe and why Krishna is God. Mother Yashoda is not thinking of these things. Rather, they are loving Krishna for who he is, not for what he is. And their attachment is not to knowing so many things and seeming like a very learned scholar of Bhakti Yoga. Their attachment is making Krishna happy. I always see this quality in my spiritual master, very much attached to Krishna's happiness, rather than any external appearance. Rather, I've seen, if you spend very much time with a person, you'll see them, make apparent mistakes materially. But there's no embarrassment because my attachment is to actually Krishna's happiness. And I'm contented with that relationship I have with Krishna. And this is real knowledge because such a person is fully beyond the body and mind. Rather, they're having a spiritual experience. There's that verse in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's explained that such a person who has developed this acquired knowledge of Krishna, spiritual relationship with Krishna, they become indifferent to all that is heard and all that is to be heard. Because they're satisfied, they're illuminated within in satisfaction in the relationship with the Lord. So we can understand we're not this body, and we can actually overcome all of the senses, all of the sense objects, all of the challenges we have in Krishna consciousness, and all the anarthas by acting in Krishna consciousness. This is the solution. So how do we act in Krishna consciousness? Well, we must surrender. In the beginning, we must surrender. And with enthusiasm and with intelligence, understand that there is nothing in the material world that will make me happy. The material world is a bona fide, certified place of suffering. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. The more you try to enjoy, the more you suffer. This is the conclusion of Krishna and all the sages. The more you try to enjoy this world, the more you try to extract pleasure, the more you make your own little plans, and then the more you're going to have to suffer. Doesn't matter if you wear orange, or you wear white, you wear tilak, you wear a cross, doesn't matter. You have to suffer if you make plans for your enjoyment. Rather than making plans for my own enjoyment, let me make plans for Krishna's enjoyment. Let me tolerate the body, you see, because the body is, it's okay, please come in, welcome. The body is filled with ignorance. The body is always feeling lust. If you offend my body and my ego, then my body will feel anger and frustration, greed. I always want more than I need. Lust, anger, greed, envy. I always think that you have more than me. Madness, illusion, we can't understand what is what. So you see how the body is always experiencing these enemies, the enemies of spiritual life. Lust, anger, greed, envy, madness, and illusion. So how do we deal with these enemies? How do we deal with them?
I think the first step is that knowledge.
I have so much knowledge, but my enemies are still attacking me.
But you can see what they are if you have the knowledge, and then when you have the knowledge and you devote yourself to Krishna, and they don't even matter.
Yes.
Chanting of japa.
Yes, chanting is very important. That's connected to the answer. There's a certain state of being we must cultivate to chant. That is the most important key. You must tolerate. You must tolerate your mind. You must tolerate your own inadequacy. That's something very hard for people to tolerate sometimes, especially people like me. Tolerate your own inadequacy. No, you're not adequate in so many ways. We must tolerate our own inadequacy. We must tolerate the lust. We must tolerate the anger. We must tolerate the greed. We must tolerate all of these things so that we can properly engage in Krishna Bhakti. We must tolerate the people who annoy us because they're annoying our ego. They're not even annoying us. They're annoying our ego. And therefore we think we're righteous, or we're justified in acting on the principle of false ego, thus becoming lost. So there's so much tolerance. Krishna says, or Lord Chaitanya says, Trinada pisa nichena tarvaiva seshnina manina madanina kirtaniya sarahari. That, yes, chant the holy name. One should chant the holy name in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street and becoming more tolerant than a tree. It doesn't mean simply tolerating all the people, tolerating circumstance. It means tolerating your own lust, tolerating your own envy, tolerating your own desire, tolerating your own anger, tolerating your own greed. And despite my anger, greed, envy, illusion, lust, my own plans, despite all those things going on in my head, I tolerate them like anything and take shelter of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you're fortunate enough to have a circumstance that's so painful in your life, where the only thing you can do is chant Hare Krishna, God bless you. You're so fortunate. That's how I became a devotee. I was just so disturbed in my mind that I had nothing to do but chant. I chanted for like weeks because I couldn't escape anywhere else, to anything else. So we tolerate our thoughts, we tolerate our desires. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj gives his own purports to the Shikshastakam verses. And then Prabhupada has his purports. But one of the things that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says about this Trinada Pisa Nichena is that a tree doesn't complain when you cut it down, and it doesn't ask for water when it's thirsty. It simply tolerates. So this is the nature of a tree. It's not even asking for water. It may be out there dying of thirst, but it's not asking. So in that way, we tolerate all of the various challenges in our bhakti yoga, and we continue with our duty. This is the nature, this is the real meaning of the verse, Matra Sparshasta Konteya Sitoshna Sukha Dukada Agamai Payano Nityas Tam Statik Shavabharataha. Krishna says the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of the winter and summer seasons. One should learn to tolerate them, O son of Kunti, without being disturbed. So this does not mean that I become like emotionless. I become like a statue. It's not the meaning of this verse. It's not the meaning of equiposition. The meaning of equiposition is that you will feel how you feel. You will feel angry. You will feel lusty at times. You will feel emotions when people die, when people you love die, when people you trust betray you. You will feel these things. You cannot avoid. But you are tolerating them, and you're not letting them affect your service to the Lord. You see, that in no circumstances, under any circumstance, will I give up my duty. Will I stop chanting Hare Krishna? Will I stop following four regulative principles? Under no circumstances will I take shelter of the material energy. Rather, I will simply tolerate. And therefore Krishna says, Yam hina vyata yante te purusham purusharsabha samadukam sukum duram somrit tatvaya kalpate. That one who is equipoised in happiness and distress, and who remains steady in both, meaning steady in my service and my sadhana, especially steady in my sadhana, steady in both. Such a person is eligible for liberation. Krishna continuously says that he who gives up his prescribed duties out of bodily discomfort, for such a person, the fruit of renunciation never manifests. And Krishna, he says that renunciation and yoga are synonymous. Genuine renunciation and yoga. So there's no question of being a genuine yogi, which means that I have connection with Krishna. I have the experience of Krishna. I'm happy. There's no question of becoming a yogi if you can't tolerate, if you can't remain steady in your duty and in your service and in your sadhana, despite what the mind and body tell you. So therefore, one has to be very, very determined in the spiritual path. It's not very difficult. People have determination to do so many things. Trying to get through college I'd say it takes more determination. You just simply chant 16 rounds of japa. So many things. But people are determined because of what they're attached to. Because I want sense gratification, I'm very determined to become successful. I've seen it. I'm very determined. So much so that I don't even sleep. I work 2 jobs. I don't sleep. And I have, to get money, to get sense gratification. People who are addicted to drugs, their determination is unbelievable. Seriously, it's unbelievable what they'll do to get drugs. Never seen anything like it sometimes. So we cannot be determined to serve Krishna. Therefore, what is the injunction? To actually take shelter of Krishna, to actually become in the shelter of Krishna's internal energy, to have the shelter of Sri Radha, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. You should always chant the holy name of the Lord. At least chant 16 good rounds. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Yatantash Dridra Vrataha. And you must be vowed, Dridra Vrataha. You must have a determined vow that I'm going to serve Krishna. Come hell or high water, I am going to serve Krishna. I'm going to be a servant of God. If this is your vow, then you'll become successful. Namashantash Chamam Bhakta. And bowing down with Krishna with determination. Then you're Nitya Yukta Upasita. You're always connected with Krishna. But if you've taken a Griha Vrata, as Prahlad Maharaj says, Griha Vrata, those who've taken a vow to enjoy material life. They've taken a vow to enjoy material life. Some people we see like that. They're determined to enjoy in all circumstances, no matter what the karma throws at them. And so this is the influence of the mode of ignorance. That here I am doing all sinful activity. Even devotees come under this. I've taken a vow. I promised the deities, I promised the fire, I promised the spiritual master, and I've promised Krishna himself that I will follow 4 regular principles and chant my rounds. Yet, not only are you harming the spiritual master, your vow, your honor, but you're harming yourself. You have to face reaction. The Prabhupada was asked, what if someone becomes initiated and is unable to follow their vow? Prabhupada said, stops him and said, what question is there of not following your vow? There's no question of fall down. He said, no gentleman makes a promise and doesn't keep it. Therefore, determination is necessary. Utsahan nishchayan daryet, tat tat karma pavartanat. Utsahan, enthusiasm, is so important in Krishna consciousness. I can't express to you the importance of enthusiasm. Enthusiasm comes from the word entheos, means to be filled with the Holy Spirit or filled with God. So we should be enthused, but how do we become enthused? Prabhupada answers that everything's in Prabhupada's books. It's really quite amazing. Some people can ask, yes, Prabhu, I understand you need to be enthusiastic to become successful in Krishna consciousness, but how do I become enthusiastic? Did you read the Nectar of Instruction? Did you study it? Prabhupada defines enthusiasm. He says, enthusiasm is endeavoring with intelligence to serve the spiritual master. What is this endeavoring with intelligence? This means that I have knowledge. I understand that this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. I understand that I will not find happiness in all of these material things. And I understand that the solution is to surrender to Krishna. The solution is to make a vow to serve Krishna and to give Krishna pleasure and to engage my senses in the service of Krishna. I've heard so many instructions on this matter. I understand the solution is to chant Hare Krishna and to take shelter of the holy name. And because I understand that, I have that intel, I have that knowledge. Now, with endeavor to serve my guru, and with that knowledge, I act accordingly. Understanding that the result will be genuine Krishna consciousness, and peace, and joy, and enthusiasm, and empowerment, and all of those good things we want, they come when one genuinely endeavors with intelligence to serve Krishna and a spiritual master. So you don't be dull-headed. We know this stuff. This is all sensible, logical. Bhagavad Gita is the supreme authority, and it makes perfect sense. Therefore, with this knowledge, use it accordingly. And in this way, one becomes enthused. One becomes filled with Krishna. Enthusiasm, utsahan, nishchayan, daryat. Patience, one needs to be patient. If we're enthused for a week, then I'm not tasting Krishna Prem. So I give up. Now I'm not enthused anymore. This is not patience. Patience also comes with intelligence. But I understand because Prabhupada says and because Krishna says this will work. Who do you have faith in? You have faith in the system. You have faith that if you make enough money, you'll be happy. If you have faith that if you make your life comfortable, you'll be happy. This is nonsense. Not even Elon Musk is happy. Jeff Bezos isn't happy. Bill Gates isn't happy. These are the most unhappy people I can think of. Donald Trump is not happy. This is so unhappy. He's a billionaire. He's the president of the United States. He's got everything. He's got power. He's got money. He's a miserable person. And I'm not like being political, but from just the perspective of judging someone's face, you can tell that he's not a very happy man. So, but devotees, they are happy because they're serving Krishna. But be patient and endeavor with enthusiasm and have confidence that my guru told me, Srila Prabhupada told me, they're successful and therefore I will also be successful. And in this way, if you're non-envious and you can realize I'm not this body, whatever path you follow, you'll always come to the conclusion, Vasudevam Sarvamiti, that Krishna is everything and I should surrender to him. And realize that there's nothing in this universe but his mercy. And of course he says it's Sa Mahatma Sadurlabha, it's very rare. But it doesn't have to be because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come and he's given us the ultimate process that you can realize this absolute truth by chanting Hare Krishna, sincerely dedicating yourself to the holy name, spread the holy name, and you don't got to change your position, you don't got to change your ashram or varna, you just simply chant and you add on top of that process, which is foolproof, you add Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. You got it going on. So I think we'll stop here. We'll ask for comments or questions. Ananta Prabhu.
You got just that line from Nectar of Instruction, but I think it's confidence. Enthusiasm is endeavoring with intelligence in Krishna consciousness, right? Isn't that it?
Endeavor with intelligence.
Intelligence in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. But you were talking about how we can't give up we have to have determination not to give up our service. So there's this inspiring quote that's attributed to Madhavendra Puri. Maybe you know the thing. That he says, the sharp moralist may slander me as being illusioned, I don't mind. You know the rest of that?
Yeah.
The sharp moralist may slander me as being illusioned, I don't mind. My family may say that I'm simply misled. My brothers may call me a fool. The learned philosophers may assert that I'm much too proud. And the rich Mammonites may point me out as mad. Still, I do not budge an inch from my determination to serve the lotus feet of Govinda, though I'm unable to do so, he says.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Andrika.
So someone is enthusiastic and takes the vow, of Krishna consciousness, but at the same time, there's always like a competition between Krishna and the I and mine, because everybody wants to be in control and believe that it's mine and I. So if they're in a situation where the going gets tough and they tend to cling to the I and mine instead of Krishna, is there going to be at some point a way out for them to realize that they're clinging to the I and my and not fully, focusing on that vow?
Of course. Yeah, Krishna says there's no loss or diminution in this path. No one, we say fall down, but really factually no one falls down completely from Krishna consciousness. Even the worst offenders, they come back. We see it in time and time again in the Bhagavatam. Even Ashvatthama, he murdered 5 children who were devotees. And he's going to be the Vyasadeva in the next yuga. So, there's always a comeback. Krishna doesn't forget your service. You have to face the karma for your offenses or whatever you fall down, but Krishna says, if you don't make it, you'll take birth in a righteous family of brahmanas, or an aristocratic family, or a family of great yogis who are advanced in knowledge. So you have those 3 options. There's no loss. Even if someone just chants Hare Krishna one time, it's glorious. There's no loss. Anything else? Brother Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanande.